Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Expert Lounge podcast from India Ratings and Research. I'm Rajshri Roy, and today we'll be discussing the recent developments in retail non performing loan space. And this is based on our latest report, which is titled Retail NPL Acquisitions, a Selective Approach by ARCs Likely in 2025. And joining me today is Ruchi Gangar, who authored this report, and she will walk us through the key observations in this space. Over to you, Ruchi.
Thanks, Rajshri. Looking at the retail NPL space over the past year, there has been a continued traction in the unsecured segment. Pools with personal loans, credit card loans, microfinance loans, etc., accounted for a little over half of the total debt acquired in transactions rated by India Ratings in retail segment. However, we do see that there has been a more careful approach, and we see that ARCs are becoming more selective in this space. This caution is clearly visible in the pricing of the recent acquisitions in the unsecured segment. Secured space continue to remain a go-to for ARCs.
Could you elaborate some more on the pricing?
Sure. When we compared recent pricing with earlier period, the differences are clear. For example, in unsecured personal and business loans, for the past 5 years, starting 2018, they have been priced around 27% on an average. While the pools that we have rated in the past 2 years, we have seen a sharp decline to around 10%. For credit card loans, the pricing has remained on the lower side only, even below 10%.
And what about the pricing in the secured retail pools?
So mortgage loans continue to be priced relatively on higher side, even though there has been small correction over the last few years. But on the other hand, vehicle loan pools have seen a pickup in pricing on an average moved around 9% higher, from 53% to 62%, which may suggest higher investor comfort with recoveries. This pricing recalibration also reflects the evolving risk perception and recovery outlook within each segment.
So the report also highlights a distinct shift in the nature of stress in the microfinance space, and this is also making the investors more cautious. Could you explain this further?
You're right, we did see some stress building in the segment, but the nature of defaults have changed. Earlier defaults were more situational, linked to pandemic or one-time income shocks. But now we are seeing more behavioral defaults and repayment fatigue, especially among over-leveraged rural borrowers. This shift has made the investors more cautious. Also, recovery outcomes in this segment have been modest, averaging around 15 to 20% over a 2 year horizon, which is lower than what was expected. This may also be due to stress building in the segment, mainly in second half of 2024. This also makes participation more selective and pricing may be lower than the earlier acquisitions.
And this brings me to my next topic, which is the performance across the NPL segment. Now, as per the report, the mortgage loan recoveries have remained consistent, averaging close to 60% of the outstanding POS, which was taken over, and this is over a period of 5 years. However, the vehicle loans appear to show stronger recovery momentum, especially in the initial years, and particularly for the softer delinquencies. Now, does this pattern hold true across the portfolio?
Right. Though mortgage recoveries have been steady overall, but the resolution pace has slowed a bit, partly due to delays in legal processes post pandemic and the policy changes in 2022 affecting the settlement process. In vehicle loans, recoveries tend to be quicker, usually within the first 3 to 4 years. However, in pools with more two-wheeler NPLs, where enforcement and resale is more challenging, we see its impact on the recoveries. Now, in unsecured loans, including microfinance, recoveries are mostly front loaded and taper off after 24 to 30 months. So, in this segment, early stage resolution becomes actually quite important.
Yes, that makes sense. And of course, in small ticket and high volume loans, the cost per unit of recovery also tends to be higher, given the effort involved in resolving each and every account. The report also highlights the growing role of technology and data in resolution. Could you talk a bit more about how these influence the resolution strategies?
That's becoming increasingly important actually. Access to structured borrow level data, such as repayment history, contactability, geographic patterns, all these can help improve predictability in recoveries. We are also seeing the adoption of digital tools for resolution. Things like automated dialers, targeted outreach, and digital payments can reduce cost and improve the overall efficiency, especially in high volume, small ticket size pools.
Yes. And clearly, for the ARCs dealing with large retail volumes, that kind of scale and efficiency is quite critical. Now, looking ahead, how are the ARC strategies expected to evolve in the next year?
Sure. We expect the selective and risk calibrated approach to continue. ARCs are likely to maintain a balanced mix of secured and unsecured portfolios, but with a sharper focus on underlying asset quality and recovery potential. In the unsecured space, investor interest will depend on the pricing and how effective the resolution infrastructure is. So, we expect activity to continue, but in a calibrated manner. Further, timely transfer of overdue account will also remain important in non-mortgage loans where recoveries tend to be more front-loaded. It allows ARCs to initiate resolution efforts when borrower engagement is still possible. So this can be beneficial for both sellers and ARCs.
Thanks for your insights, Ruchi. Clearly, the retail NPL space continues to evolve. And this also brings us to the end of today's discussion. Thank you for tuning into the Expert Lounge podcast. For further insights on the points that we've discussed today, you can view our published wire, which is on www.indiaratings.co.in. And please feel free to reach out to us in case of any queries. That's all from us. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.